Well, everybody, it is 11:30. Thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. We are here today to talk about appreciation, specifically appreciology, the art and science of appreciation. This is the Impact Group Learning Academy. So we're so excited you're here, and I'm so excited to have a guest with me today. This is Garrett from Vizmeg. And Garrett, would you like to introduce yourself real quick by any chance?
Sure, I'd be happy to. My name is Garrett Walker, and I'm the president of Vizmeg Landscape. We are a full-service maintenance provider. We service hundreds of clients throughout Northeast Ohio. We also build outdoor landscape construction projects for both commercial and residential clients. And I've lived in the Hudson area for almost 19 years. I am married to Danielle Walker. She's a fifth grade teacher at Eastwoods Elementary, and she is certainly a huge and important part of my life. And I have three young kids, I guess a little bit older now, I should say, but I have a 20-year-old daughter in college. And I have a 17-year-old daughter who is a junior and a 16-year-old son who is a sophomore. So I'm in that great stage of life of getting to enjoy everyone in different places, doing different things and watching them grow and become awesome young adults.
A lot of spare time too.
Exactly. Exactly.
No, I was so excited to have Garrett on today because Garrett, his first is an exceptional leader, and he has a group of folks that's very diverse. There's a lot of different challenges that he's dealing with as far as how to motivate them. So that's why I'm so excited to have him as my guest. So my name's Tom Speaks. I started the Impact Group about 24 years ago. We're a firm that specializes in, working with school districts, nonprofits, business, boards of DD entities, which are really trying to communicate well. And a big piece of communication, frankly, is your brand. And I'm going to go quickly to a brand. People a lot of times will think about my brand is my logo, my brand is this, my brand is that. Everybody on this call, your brand is your people. Your brand is your people. It's how your people they treat others. They treat people from the community. And here's an important piece too. It's how they treat each other. I don't think that's something we think about a whole lot, but a lot of times we'll talk about customer service and things of that nature. And people have it backwards. We talk about how we're going to talk to the public, but we're not very good to each other. Think of like a cup, and think of your cup, which is empty. It's awful hard to overflow with positive if your own cup is empty, right? When you get yourself squared away, and when there's positivity within your organization, a natural byproduct of that is a sense of customer service and all the good things that come with that. So today we're talking about appreciation and how to build a culture of appreciation and what that means for an organization and kind of how to do it. We got 27 minutes here, and this is a discussion that could be an 8-hour discussion. So we're going to break this thing down. Garrett, I'd just like to ask you a question just out of the gates, just why, again, I in all modesty, yours, I'm a very modest guy. You're a great leader. I see the way you interact with folks. I see your caring heart. Why is appreciation, do you think, important as a leadership skill, as a leadership method?
I think certainly, as you mentioned, our people are our brand. Our people are, our organizations don't exist without our people, and our company has a lot of people. And I think relationships and how people can feel positive about themselves and in the environment of what they do on the day-to-day is directly what impacts their success and how well that they'll be able to engage themselves, their clients, their vendors. Those relationships exist certainly within our family, within our friend circles, and certainly in our work circles as well. And I think, all of us like to be around people who make themselves feel better, to be encouraged, to feel more optimistic. I think there's so many challenges and pressures that young and old people feel alike on the day to day. We all have a tremendous amount of responsibilities, and we all have a lot of things. And it's critical that we can have a support network of people around us that can encourage us and have a sense of feeling accomplished and feeling appreciated. I was introduced to you indirectly through Aaliyah Barr was a local hairstylist that works in Hudson here, and she had mentioned that she had worked with you, and certainly I had a sense of interest to understand, what appreciology was. I think in so many circumstances we had taken that approach and had tried to always follow different types of of models and different things to acknowledge our employees and do different things. But I don't know that it was ever kind of pulled together under, I guess one, I guess terminology that you guys have brought to light for us. So as a company and as a person, it was great to see some of the things that we had been doing already, but also bring to light, I think, some new opportunities and create an awareness, I think, within our organization and within our friend circles of just continuing to make sure that that becomes a priority and a focal point for us in our day to day of how we approach those things and make sure that we can be successful in how we approach that because it takes effort, just like everything does.
Oh man, it does. I appreciate a couple things you said there. One was the idea first that it takes effort. Uh, I want to people on this call. Have you ever been into a place that it's just you walk in the front door and it's positive? Whether it's gosh, it could be a place of worship, it could be a school, it could be a theme park, it could be a restaurant. You walk in and it's positive. Here's my question: is that an accident? Do they like we just everybody just shows up every day and just organically everybody's just in a good mood and it works out? No way. No, there's no way human beings, I'm afraid, on the level have some negativity. If you have a negative person and a positive person, you put them in a closet for a week, you're like, they're both going to come out positive. They'll kill each other because that's just the way it works. There has to be a purposeful effort to keep an organization positive and uplifted. And that required leadership has got to model that. There are things we have to do. And again, we can't possibly get into all the aspects of appreciology today. But a big one I wanted to hit on is something Garrett said a moment ago is helping people feel good about themselves. And a way to do that is catching people doing something right. We are wired as human beings to see things that aren't going well. It's the way we're wired. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story here. For anybody that hasn't seen this online, I encourage you to go do it. There's something called the magic coffee table. I love this YouTube video. So there's a young couple, right? They're probably about 25, and they've clearly just moved in together. It's in Australia, and they've probably been living together for about a month. And the young man is watching television, and the young woman comes over. He's sitting watching TV. She's standing over him. She says, "I've had it. I've been here for I'm cleaning up after you all the time. I'm done." And the young man says, "Don't worry about it. It's gonna be okay." She says, "How? How is it gonna be okay?" She says, "Well, follow me." Or he says, "Follow me." So he takes her to the laundry room. He said, "Well, ever since you moved in, this plastic basket, uh, if I put my clothes in this basket, 2 days later, they end up on my bed folded. I have no idea how this is happening. It's fascinating. I'm not sure." And she says, "You're crazy." He says, "No, follow me. There's more." They go in the living room and there's a coffee table. And he says, "This is a magic coffee table." She says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, every night I'll really push it. I have pizza boxes, I'll stack tissues. I have really pushed it. When I wake up in the morning, this coffee table is cleared off. It's a magic coffee table." And the woman says, "You're nuts." In the very next scene, the young man is there and he's with two police officers in his living room, a male police officer and a female. And he says, "No, no, no, she wouldn't have left me. She must have fallen on the magic coffee table." And the female police officer says, "You're crazy." And the male police officer says, "No, I've got the same coffee table." Here's where I'm going with this. If I had you guys in a crowd, was the coffee table magic? Was the laundry basket magic? No, the young lady was doing it for him. Here's why I tell you that story. In your organization, how many magic coffee tables do you have? How many magic coffee tables does your staff think you have? Because guess what? Your paychecks just pay themselves. Your accounts receivable just doesn't work. Your facilities just clean themselves. Your tech just works. All that stuff just happens on its own, right? No, it doesn't. It happens because you have very intentional, thoughtful, kind, smart people doing those things. Are you catching them doing something right? Are you going out of your way to make sure that those people know that they're awesome? That if they didn't do what they did, the place wouldn't run. So what are you doing to do that? If you do this, a couple of things will happen. The first thing, if you keep track of this, you're going to notice you have favorites. You praise some people all the time. You're totally neglecting other people all the time. Second thing you'll notice is you've got, if you really pay attention to this, you've got rock stars in your office or your business that they're so steady and so reliable and so terrific that they're invisible to you. Holy moly. Know who those folks are and praise them. So that's a long-winded way to say, and there's a whole technique behind this, but what is the method that you have, not just as leadership, but your staff? Do they actually see all the things that are happening? Because there's an enormous amount that have. Garrett, I'll ask you, what do you guys do, if I may ask, to be intentional about seeing the good things that people are doing and making them aware of the good things they're doing?
Yeah, I think it has to spread across the entire culture of our staff. We have to make sure that our middle management, most importantly, has this on their radar. So as we identify that in periodic management meetings, we talk through it with HR and make sure that our HR department is constantly trying to make sure we have different ways to acknowledge it. Certainly we can do employees of the month, and we can do different gestures of different types of lunches and different types of acknowledgments. But so much of it comes from the day-to-day interaction that has to happen with direct reports with their managers. It happens with coworkers talking to each other and their approach to that. Tom, you were fortunate enough to speak for our group about a year ago. And, after that engagement, we ordered some really nice leather bound binders for the staff. And it was an idea that you had recommended. And it was awesome. We sent them out on one of our back tables where a lot of our employees come and go throughout the day. And we didn't know how it would go. Would people pick them up? Would they engage with the process of trying to, make some notes and some comments and identify how they acknowledge and appreciate, their coworkers and the different things they do? And overwhelmingly, every one of them disappeared. It was fantastic. And it was just great to see our employees taking the understanding of the things that we as management try to do for them and them taking it to the next stage of sharing that same type of acknowledgement with each other. And I think that just spoke volumes to the type of people we have. And I think most people are in that same mindset. I think they understand and they feel that appreciation, they feel that love from their coworkers. And as much as we have a lot of work to do on the day to day, small acknowledgments when they happen consistently, it's almost like a steady rain that has to kind of fall over people. And eventually, even some of the harder shelled individuals that we've started to see them send acknowledgments. I've seen employees that have gotten to a point where on off days, they send a text out to a group of people, just, thanking them for some of the work they've done. So I think it just is an overall collective effort of what we do, but it has to be sincere. I believe it's important that we have to make sure that when we stop to pause to talk to someone, that we really do take a few minutes of our own time to listen and to engage with that employee and understand what's happening in their lives. I think there was a moment in one of your books that you talked about, letting grace guide us. And you never know where individuals are throughout that moment of their day or that time in their life. And I think it's surprising how often I have the opportunity to talk to people and to find out that there are some challenges sometimes in their life that I wasn't aware of or their teammates weren't aware of. And sometimes when you can uncover some of those little gems, it provides some context for the rest of the staff to understand where that person might be in their life. And I think we get a little bit of empathy for those people, and more than anything, we can provide quality support. But I think we just have a really multi-pronged approach to making sure that it's on our minds, it's on our mindset of what we want to do each day. And again, we just have to take the time and the energy to make sure that we're paying attention to those around us and not being completely self-absorbed in our own work, which is challenging. I think so many times as managers, it is hard to slow ourselves down and just have quality conversations with people and to take just a moment to recognize them. And I think it just takes practice.
It takes practice, and if I could boil down a lot of what you said there, intentionality. It takes a lot of intentionality to have a great culture, and we need to train people up, and we need to have clear expectations. And just the fact that you guys, for your mid-level managers and such, you're making an effort to do that. A lot of times we'll talk to organizations and they'll go immediately like, we're having trouble with employee retention, we're having trouble with people showing up, we're having trouble. Okay, that's cool, I get it. Take a step back. Do your people feel valued? Do the folks you're working with feel as though you actually care about them? Because when they're and I mean, and you said it before, like, sincerely, if this is a seen as like a way to handle people, you're not hearing Garrett and I. Be sincerely interested in people, sincerely care that they do well. That's just you can't fake that. So just be sincere, and if you do, those other things will kind of happen as far as retention and performance, and they really will. But when we talk about appreciation, one of the things, which is, you said it again there as well, is have your employee of the month and those kind of things. That's cool. I think Aaron and I would argue that it's infinitely more powerful to pop into somebody's cubicle or office and say, man, I so appreciate you. I know you stayed a little later last night to take care of that thing. That meant the world to us. Thank you. Or you get an email with saying, just 10 seconds. Man, I so appreciate what you did on that particular document. That's just what I needed. You're awesome. Thank you. Those little thank yous, those little sincere appreciations mean a ton more, I would argue, than employee of the month or some gift certificate some other place. But that takes training. And here's why this is interesting as well. If we had everybody in a big group, one of the things I'll often say is, who here takes compliments well? And if there's 100 people in the room, honest to gosh, Garrett, 3 people will raise their hand. We're not used to taking compliments. We just don't take compliments well. It's very uncomfortable. And people will say things like, I'm not used to getting them. It makes me feel uncomfortable. People feel like there's an alternative. You only are saying something nice to me because you want to get something from me. How sad is that? What you find out though is people are horrible at getting or at receiving compliments. Actually, as a side note, for anybody here who is uncomfortable with that, here's my advice to you. It's very difficult and simple. The next time somebody gives you a nice compliment, square your shoulders, look them in the eye, and say, thank you. That's it. Just say thank you. Next time you do it, you're going to feel how weird that feels, right? But just say thank you. Well, why do I bring this up? If we are uncomfortable getting a compliment, understand that at some subconscious level, we're thinking we're making other people uncomfortable by giving them. Garrett and I can say all day long, praise people, and you all are going to say, yes, we will do that. But you don't. Human beings don't, because it's awkward. It's strange. What we can say, when people leave positions, most of the time it's because they're not appreciated. There's 1,000 reasons, but a lot it's big. So what are you doing specifically to go out of your way to appreciate them? How do you catch your folks doing something right, Garrett? I mean, as far as when you're mid-level managers and such, how did you begin to get it in their DNA that this is how we roll at Vizmeg? This is how we praise folks.
As you mentioned, it has to start at the top of the organization. You have to be real, you have to be sincere. And I think for a long time before I even approached our staff, I had to live my own mantra for a long time. And, I learned that earlier in my career. I was fortunate to have people acknowledge myself and some of the things I had done over the course of my life and my career. And again, it comes from a well-rounded area, from, my church background to, my family, to those people that we surround ourselves with, and over the course of time, you gravitate towards a lot of the skills and the things that you feel and you understand, and you try to read and acknowledge what we do. But it came to, you just have to, it sounds like a cliche, but walk the walk, and I think for a long time for me, for almost the first year, I've been at Vizmeg for 4 years now, and we've made some really transparent changes in our organization since I've been there. And, the first year wasn't about me talking about what we wanted to do. It was really an entire full 12 to 18 months of me doing it. And then after I was able to execute and do that, I think people believed that I was sincere and that I did genuinely care about every single person that's there and their lives and what they do. And, I was fortunate to be in a position that, my day-to-day isn't as overwhelming as most, but, 70% of my day can be just engaging with my people.
Yeah.
But I get the power of my people and what they do and what they want to do for us as an organization and how happy they are. And coming back to the concept of retention is just imperative for every organization to be successful. It's the entire key to everything is retention. When you have quality people in an organization, the organization can thrive, and there is really a limitless amount of work and things that the business is able to accomplish, as long as you're not putting new people in a seat periodically, because people have experience and they're able to do those types of things. So I think for me, it was really just trying to take a long approach. Again, you have to be patient. I remember, I think in your book, when I read it, I know there was a great story about the bamboo tree, if I recall. And, you plant the seed and you wait for that seed to germinate, and, it just takes years and it takes times. And often you don't necessarily feel the rewards of what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that's where I think a lot of times people and organizations, can sometimes give up, and they don't necessarily feel that fast, I guess, response that we always want. We want immediate results to so many things, and this is definitely a slow game. It just takes time and energy, and by doing it, I think through that process, ultimately you start to see some of those successes surface and pop. And as a manager, you feel a lot of gratitude when you start to see the impact of what some of those things do over the course of that long duration that you go through with your people. And it again, for me, it was just trying to make sure that we led by example, and ultimately all of my staff and my personnel were able to kind of take that similar type approach in and day out. And now I have the luxury of watching other people kind of lead the campaign and lead the approach of how we treat people, and the type of work we do and how we acknowledge others. So nothing brings me more satisfaction than watching other people now do what I hoped that we would have accomplished, and we have successfully.
Well, good job, man. That there's a couple big things that I appreciate. It's culture is hard. I don't care what
It
anybody
is.
says. If it takes a long time, it takes a lot of effort. So you have a couple things going on there. The one is modeling behavior. And we do a lot of leadership boot camp stuff too. And this is fascinating, right? Because people, when we say, how should a leader act? Everyone says, well, you should lead by example. Awesome. Are you aware of how you lead? Are you aware? We'll ask a lot of people to be self-aware. I mean, even from your physicality, imagine yourself walking into your office in the morning. Step out of your own body and watch yourself walk in. Would you hang out with you? Would you be like, there's a person that is here to lead? Here's a person for their colleagues, or is this just miserable Gus coming in the morning, bringing? I mean, we're all at bad days. That's okay once in a while, but good Lord, are we aware of what we're bringing with us? That's how to model behavior. If you aren't allowed to express, you can't expect a place to be more enthusiastic than you are as a leader. You can't expect a place to be. You're modeling the behavior, so that's a good one. And you said a moment ago about it takes time. This, I mean, really, this is the long game. This is modeling the behavior. This is rewarding like crazy. And here's the thing: you said it as well. A lot of leaders give up. They're like, "Gosh, I've been trying this new initiative. It's month 2 of our Employee of the Month program, and I haven't seen results. You're not going to see results for 18 months. Even all these things. Not only that, this is fascinating. When you're building a positive culture, um, probably some of you have stinkers on your staff. Any organization, if it consists of human beings, there are some people that are negative, and it's okay. We all have some negative folks. The thing is that negative folks, frankly, want your office or your environment to remain negative. It's how they roll. I don't know why they want it that way, but they enjoy the conjecture and the baloney and the crap. And understand that when you interject some of this positivity, if you're catching people doing something right, you have fun things going on. This is fascinating. Negative people get more negative. They like double down on the negativity. And sometimes if you're a leader, you're like, oh man, not only is this not working, but a tenth of my staff they're all upset because we're doing this because the potluck was on the wrong day, or why are we celebrating the Browns? We should be celebrating the Steelers. It's always something, right? It's almost an indicator of if you have a culture you're trying to turn around, and if you're working like crazy, and you know who the negative folks are, if they're beginning to go off the rails, awesome. That is, I kind of kid, but that's like jet fuel. Like I'm either gonna let this tear me down, or this is confirmation they're heading in the right direction. So that's a long way to say, if you want a positive culture, you have to build very intentional systems to make that happen. It takes a while. There's going to be a period of not having things happen, and actually a period of people getting kind of snarky about it. And then at the other end of that, massive growth, awesome things, but you have to have the grit to get through there. Um, how about, we only have a couple minutes left here, but I want to talk a little bit about just behavioral expectations themselves, and that we've talked, Garrett, before. You're not allowed to be frustrated with somebody's behavior if the behaviors you desire aren't crystal clear. How do you guys at Vizmeg make it clear that this is how we roll here? These are our expectations for behaviors amongst a leader, amongst people. You have good folks, not by accident. It's because you have clear expectations and you convey them. What are some of the expectations of how you and your leaders act?
I think a big part of it's trying to create an environment that is comfortable to have discussion. I think so many times there's a discomfort, whether or not it's a difficult conversation, whether or not it is something that might be a little frowned upon. I think when things don't get addressed or things aren't identified, they have a tendency to spiral, and they have a tendency to create a big drag on the entire environment and the culture. And I think for us, one thing that we intentionally try to work on is making sure that we can create a pleasant way to have a difficult conversation. And we try to get ahead of them. And I think that comes back to us as management and as leadership of just, being comfortable enough that the conversation doesn't have to come across abrasive or challenging, but put people in a comfortable position to maybe understand that dialogue and take an approach to how we do that. John Gordon wrote a great book. It's called The Energy Bus, and I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's a short book, and he does a really great job of comparing basically energy vampires versus people who are on the energy bus. And you mentioned it earlier in our conversation that it takes effort every day. Sometimes there are days we're tired, we're worn out, but as managers, we have to get up and we have to show up. And sometimes we got to just flip that switch and understand that that is our responsibility. That I can't show up and have that really, really unfortunate day because it impacts all of those people around us. And I think we just try to limit those things and not let them grow. And we want to make sure that we can put ourselves in a position to try to cut off things from becoming a bigger issue or bigger problem than they can tend to be if they're not addressed. So one of our strategies is to try to get ahead of things and just try to confront things directly in an open and comfortable way and make people feel comfortable. And I think as you build on that strategy, it allows for those things to mitigate themselves faster and they kind of self-resolve.
That's awesome because again, the common theme here is intentionality. And one of the expectations you have of your crew is the ability to have difficult, productive discussions. And let's face it, most people would rather have bamboo shoots shoved under their toenails than have a tough discussion. They don't want to do, they'll do anything to avoid it. And those little things become monstrous things, and that's bad. But in your culture, one of the ways you do it is something's going on. It's our expectation we're going to have a civil, kind, but difficult discussion to resolve this. That's an intention. What I'm trying to get across to the folks on this call here is, if there's a culture across the street, boy, everything just works out over there. It's so cool. They just everything. Oh my gosh, you're such nice people. No, crystal clear behavioral expectations put in place by management. Crystal clear. They define them, communicate them, reinforce them, reward them. That's how we get a great culture. So that's an example of one of the expectations. I want to be respectful of people's time. We just had them for a half hour today. We just scratched the surface of the surface of the surface of appreciology and the different things. What I hope we got across today is intentionality, intentionality, intentionality. If you want to have a great culture, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes investment. You can do it, but you got to have the grit to hear it, to see it through. And just want to thank you guys all for being here. As a shameless plug, we're the Impact Group. We do strategic planning, crisis communication, just in a general sense, getting your good word out, and a lot of professional development. If you want to have a great culture or learn how to management boot camp, how to have difficult discussions, those things, we'd be thrilled to help. So everyone, thank you for your time today. Join us next month as we tackle another topic. And Garrett, I wanted to thank you you're a super, super busy guy. I mean, gosh, this is busy time for you guys right now, gearing up for the season. So thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure. I'm thankful to be involved in the process. And if anyone ever has any things they'd like to discuss, I'm always happy to share our experiences and help other people get to the place that we're working towards each day. So thanks for having me, Tom. I appreciate you.
And as another shameless plug, Vizmeg does amazing work. If there's anything you guys ever need, they're awesome. So thank you guys for your time today. Appreciate you all for the good work you do, and we'll see you guys shortly. Take care.